Hey, everybody, and welcome into the End Goal podcast today. Before we get into the conversation with Maius, I wanted to quickly just give you guys a little bit of a heads up. We had a couple of technical difficulties during the recording to where it kind of caused a bit of quality issue, at least in terms of her camera, but the audio is still there. The conversation was amazing. It essentially turned into, instead of me hosting the podcast for her, she Uno reversed it on me and uh, asked me questions that made me think about life, made me think in ways that were uncomfortable, asking me questions that I, as much as I wanted to agree with them, I just didn't have the answer, didn't agree with because mentally I just couldn't. So I think all of those factors, along with her story of how she became a doctor, why the medical field, what her experiences are in the field, etc., all those things really packaged for a great, great, great conversation. I can really only call it that. So I hope you enjoy, listen all the way through, and if you think somebody you know would enjoy this podcast, please share with them. Leave a like, leave a comment, all the stuff that you usually would do when you listen to these podcasts. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy the conversation. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the End Goal Podcast, the show where I like to have meaningful conversations with people about topics that I find interesting and or educative. Today, I have a very good friend of mine, Maius Bermejo. Actually, sorry, rewind. Dr. Maius Bermejo with me. I've known of her and known her a little bit since freshman year of like our college days, which is about
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Actually, you were right. wait, okay, guys. Okay, before we start, literally, we got on and we were like, "Wow, it's been so long." I was like, "Yeah, it's so weird. I barely recognize your voice." And she was like, "What's it been? 10 years?" I'm like, "It's 2026. It can't have been 10 years. It was literally 10 years ago."
Yeah.
It was 2015, 2016 when we were freshmen in the
Yeah,
dorms.
so
That's insane.
almost
That is
11 years.
insane. So, Mayus, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. Excited to
Of
yap.
course.
I love to yap.
Yeah, same. I have a newfound obsession with yapping.
Amazing.
Oddly, I don't know what it is, and maybe you're different. But for some reason, I can't just like yap off the cuff. Like I like to yap, but it's like I have to get the yap train starting.
Okay.
Like it's not just like, oh, here's a topic, do a 30-second elevator pitch. It's like, oh, we're talking about life, we're talking about goals, we're talking about aspirations, we're talking about business. Cool, I can start yapping. Yeah. But if it's like, oh, we're talking about like politics, we're talking about social issues, we're talking about the world, I'm like, I don't know enough to yap about this. Am I supposed to yap about this? Am I allowed to yap about this? I don't know. Okay. So it's like I've been like very selectively yapping, which I've been trying to open that up. I'm trying to be less selectively yapping. But how is your yapping muscle?
My yapping muscle? I can talk about anything. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's great.
I mean, like if I don't know something, obviously I'll say I don't know something. But if the other person knows about something that I don't know, I'll ask them about it. But I'll ask like follow-up questions, and I'm just like, I don't know, get curious,
we gotta talk about that.
Yeah.
Forget the 7 bullet points that I have on my phone right now in my Notion. How do you know what to ask and what's appropriate to ask? Because I think this is based on my background of being like South Asian immigrant child in a small town. Like I didn't really talk much with people. There wasn't much to talk about, but it was like I used to talk and then I stopped talking because I thought people weren't interested in what I had to say or the questions I was asking, or I was asking too many questions. But like, how do you in like a social setting kind of know, oh, I'm interested in what they're talking about, let me dig deeper? Like how, like I guess I'm always afraid of like, am I seeming too nosy? Am I seeming too like aggressive, or seeming too enthusiastic about what somebody's talking about? Like,
I mean, like, I totally get that lens in the sense that like I am an immigrant. I wasn't born and raised here. Like in my early childhood years, I was born in the Philippines, and so when I came here, same thing. Like I was also like kind of self-conscious about in terms of like growing up self-conscious about taking up space.
Mm-hmm.
Um I I think when I came here I sort of felt the same way. I'm trying to remember when I started like I think it's because of my mom. My mom is very loud and expressive, and like Filipinos are very like chalant, the
Mm-hmm.
opposite of nonchalant.
Right.
Um, and and so I think I personally took that up in my, I guess, personality,
Mm-hmm.
and just, I mean, I carry. It doesn't mean that I didn't carry a lot of like internal shame in terms of like how I interact with people, like being
Mm-hmm.
like self-conscious. But I think the best way to get curious with people is when you're being authentic to like how your brain works and like what you
Mm-hmm.
say, and like no matter what you say, if people see like their reality through their lens like differently. So you can be the
Right.
most like you can be the smallest version of yourself, and someone out there will still find something you said offensive. And I think that like the best conversations are those that you can get curious with, and you like the other person and you are just like having a good regulated back and forth. And obviously if you don't vibe,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't vibe, and you kind of feel that also, and you
Yeah.
stop asking. Or like, like you just kind of, I mean, other people are better at hiding their like
Mm-hmm.
emotions more than others, but like, you kind of get the sense of like how the conversation's going. I don't
Yeah.
really worry too much about being afraid of what I'm like wanting to say or ask. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, if it's like a little bit more of an honest, cheeky question, I'll preface that. Um,
Yeah.
but I think like pretty quickly you can create like a chemistry in conversation with
Mm-hmm.
somebody. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like I just went
Mm.
into like such a deep detail of
No, I appreciate
how
that.
I.
It got me thinking. It definitely made sense. It definitely made
Yeah.
sense. I think where I was getting not lost or confused, but I was starting to ponder a little bit because similar to, I guess, the detail you gave about your mother, my father was similarly like pretty outgoing. Like in social settings, like we're Indian, so in social settings with like other American people in the small town, he was more like quiet, respectful,
Mhm.
reserved, etc. But as soon as you go to like our Indian gatherings or somebody's house or somebody that he's comfortable with, he's booming. He has a very like loud presence and a loud personality. And so growing up seeing that, I'm thinking like, oh wow, interestingly enough, like you growing up with somebody who had a very outgoing presence and you adopted it.
Mhm.
I grew up with somebody who had an outgoing presence and I kind of like did the opposite. I kind of rejected it and I shelled in and I went quiet. And so I just found that very interesting. Only in the past few years have I tried to allow myself to open up more and in conversations with people like ask questions or I think I tried to play around with this at work when I'm like where you join the morning teams meeting and somebody's like how'd your weekend go or how are you doing and whatever, and instead of giving this stereotypical 9 to 5, oh it's going, or things like that, right? I was like pretty good at a workout last night that was really fun, or over the weekend, yeah, it was pretty chill. I kind of stayed at home, I read this book, or I try to give like a little bit extra
Yeah.
detail because I was like
When you
it
share,
feels
yeah,
facetious to not.
yeah, and when you share, it makes the other, it most of the time makes the other person comfortable for them to share too.
Right. That's what I
Can
think.
I ask?
Um,
Can I ask a question? Were you encouraged to like express yourself at home when you were a kid? Sorry, not to like.
No, 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 no,
And
no,
he's
no,
like,
no, no.
I
No, it's a very good question. It's a very good question. And the reason I laugh is no one's actually ever asked me that outside of my therapist in therapy. Um,
sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. I have no problem sharing this. It's just no one's asked. I'm also somebody who a lot of the times like I'll share things that I want to, but unless somebody asks and I'm willing, even though I'm willing to share it, I just don't unless somebody
Yeah,
asks. But going back to the question, um, me specifically, I think both of us know because there were just a lot of rules
yeah,
in the house on like what to say, how to say it, when to say it, things like that.
yeah,
And because the rules just got to be to me so much so annoying, I kind of stopped
yeah,
talking because I was like, I don't like the rules that I have to play the game by, and therefore I just don't want to play the game. And the game was talking at
yeah.
home. And so I kind
Makes
of,
sense.
at home, it was very like, say what needs to be said,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Don't give any extra
Mm-hmm.
details, and there's nothing else to say. At school, I was a little bit more open because the rules were more open at school. But then there was always a fear of like, um, is what I'm gonna saying gonna get back home somehow? So there was also a fear of
I
like, how
see.
much do I share at school? So just overall, I was pretty reserved at home and quiet. At school, I was a bit more open, outgoing, class clown. Like I did realize growing up hearing about the class clown archetype of like, usually something might be off at home and then they like act out at school kind of thing, right? And I was like, oh, maybe that was me because I was kind of quiet at home and I wanted to act out at school for attention. Who knows? But once I got to college and I met all these people who were outgoing and talkative and really like tried to be social, I was like, I'm batshit scared of like saying anything to
I
anybody.
see.
And then fast forward to becoming an adult, making friends, things like that. I I was like, it would be cool to start something online, like trying to be like content creator to talk to people online and things like that. Not because like I was hunting for something. I was like, it should be cool. I saw your stuff first, so people don't know this. I get DMs from people like I've seen what you've been doing with content. It's kind of like made me kind of want to do my own thing. I was like, that's cool, awesome. They don't know that I used to watch your. I used to see like stuff that you would post, whether it's your like med school journey or college or whatever that is before, and I was like, I I didn't know we could do that. I thought being a content creator was like a secret person's club you had to be invited to,
Yeah,
in a sense, right? I didn't know just sharing yourself like about things that you like to do and thoughts you have and experiences you have online was like a thing that anybody could do,
yeah. Oh,
really. So
that's
so
so
that's kind of
cool.
where that's kind of where it was. But
Oh, thanks
yeah,
for sharing
so
that. That's so nice.
oh, of course,
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
course.
no, I remember like,
Um,
kind of starting that in college. So, um,
mhm.
yeah.
How was that? Like, I did want to ask you kind of your experience in the field.
Okay.
Um, I usually my wife is a podiatrist resident right now, so I've seen through her
Yeah.
lens like everything, but I do know that people going the MD route have it a bit
Mm.
different, and I wanted to know like how was the process? Like, you don't necessarily have to go into every nitty-gritty detail, but like how were all these years of college,
Yeah.
med school, and then now being a resident?
Yeah. I think there will people the people were right. The
Mm-hmm.
days are long, the years are short. Um,
Wow.
because I even just like seeing you now, it kind of takes me back and I'm like, oh, that was just like yesterday. Like, no, it's been a really long time. And like, I've lived through so many different like my uses since then. Um,
Mm-hmm.
College me, I she definitely had a chip on her shoulder. Like, in terms of like, I think the pre med culture is like, you always have something to prove, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone around you, everyone is just like so smart and like you're all trying to like get into med school and match and stuff. And so like your whole life, or at least mine, um, that was like my priority. Like I always had that
Mm-hmm.
in like the forefront of my brain. Like get into med school, get into med school. Like that was it. Like that, like without that, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what am I doing in my life? So that was definitely like a guiding light for me in terms of like the direction of my life, which I feel
Mm-hmm.
really lucky about, because I feel like sometimes it's, I mean, it is, it could, it sometimes it can be harder when like you are still trying to figure it out, you know? And people
Yeah.
always like say, oh, like what you're doing is really hard. Like, yes, it is, but also like at least like we have like a set path we get to follow, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I'm going on a tangent. I think missing out on that in my like earlier years, because like everything was so laid out for me, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I had maybe like, I don't know, because I don't know anyone else, but I feel like I missed opportunity for um different level of like maturation, or like um I don't know, like in just terms of like myself and like my self concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you know, medicine is like such a small bubble. Like it's, you know, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you all everyone's, you know, trying to like get to the next thing, and then after the next thing there's the next thing. Like there's residency.
Yeah.
You know, like after you get into med school, there's a residency, and then after you get into residency, there's like fellowship, and then like you're finally done. But even within that,
Mm-hmm.
you have to take the MCAT, you have to apply to med school, you have to do interviews, you have to do, and then once you like finally, and you have to rank, and then once you finally match, or if you don't match, like what do you do? Do you take a gap year? Do you try again? Like how do you buff up your whatever? Or like when you get into med school, there's like, okay, like now there's clinicals, like you, like in med school we have to go through like surgery and IM and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like so you're always, and then there's like a bunch of like board exams to take, and they're all really expensive and really long, like
Mm-hmm.
8 hour, 10 hour, 2 day exams.
Yeah, they're grueling.
Yeah, and then like after that, like you may not even get into residency. You know, like you have to
Mm-hmm.
match to residency again, and you have to apply again, interview, and in residency you're like working a lot. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I think
Yeah, this is your journey. So
yeah,
as like as winding as you're talking about it, I'm sure it's like been a lot of like different moving
yeah,
parts.
yeah, but I think there's I focus so much on my career that I wonder if I would have, I definitely would have been a different person,
Mm-hmm.
when if I didn't go into medicine. But I think like at least I had, what I was saying is like at least I had like the path set out for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to like some of like my friends who like are still trying to figure it out too, like that's a different kind of like mental stimulation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but my experience, so yeah, she had a chip on her shoulder in college, but I think like having a dance community to fall back on was like really my grounding space. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had a select few like pre-med friends. I don't know if you remember Nieta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but she danced with us in DFC for like the
Right.
first or second semester, something like that. But yeah, just having like the dance community like in college was like such a good experience for me. And
Mm-hmm.
then after undergrad, like moving away from Dallas, I moved to Austin for med school. Med school, I was a little bit less worried. I think I started to relax a little bit in terms of um, finding like my group of friends there that like really,
Mm-hmm.
we really helped each other through med school. But then COVID hit my second semester of med school. Um, and I also had just turned 21. So I had like a good year of going out
Yeah, yeah.
before like the world shut down. And it was fine because, well, I mean, obviously COVID was a scary time, but like in terms of just like med school, we entered clinicals during during like the COVID season. And there was like nothing to do but stay home or go to work. So I guess for us, for me, I didn't have I didn't have as much FOMO, I think. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
like I like at least like for me when I was at like learning all the stuff during COVID, I felt like for me I had a purpose, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Although it was scary because we were like we don't know what's next, and like my mom was
Mm-hmm.
sick at home. She had COVID for, let's say, like a month or something, and she was like in ICU at one point. But she's,
Oof.
I know, and I mean, you saw her in my story today. She looks,
Yeah.
she doesn't look a day old 40.
She's
She's
thriving. She's
thriving.
thriving now.
But so that was a crazy time. And then my third year of med school, I did my MBA too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, what the yeah, I think I remember something about that. Wait a minute. D- one sec. Guys, one sec. During med school, you did an MBA.
mm-hmm.
Here's where we pause on Maius's doctor journey because I have something to tell you guys about me and Maius, right? Maius and I, for some reason, the reason why I think I've been connected to you in some way, does even in these 10 years, is you somehow somebody you know I also know at or have known at different points in time.
Oh.
Because after you left college and I left college, there was a person who was friends with my sister in college. Her name is Chamali.
Oh.
And I saw her on I saw you on one of her MBA group picks, or
Oh.
vice versa. And I told Ayushi, I was like, Maius no Chamali. And I'm like, I don't know how. And there was somebody even before Chamali that I was like, you're friends with this person, and I don't even know how I'm friends with them and you're friends with them,
Yeah.
and it's just somehow that we know the same person. And then fast forward, like end of last year or so, somebody that I recently worked with at my work came up in one of your stories again. It was one of two people you were running with one day, and I'm like, and in case she doesn't want to be necessarily doxxed, I'm leaving her name out of it, but I'll DM you the name later. And I told Ayushi, I was like, how does she know her? How does she know everybody that I know some way, form, or fashion? Like, how does this happen, right? And because it doesn't happen with anybody else. That's just the weird thing. Like, I don't see other people's like stories or posts. And I'm like, oh, they're friends with this person that I also have interacted with or just recently met or whatever this is, right? So it's like there's some point of connection somewhere keeping you and me like tangentially connected. And I was like, I just think this is cool.
That's cool.
I always found that like an interesting like thing.
Yeah. Wow. What a fun fact.
That's very. I always I'm like, it's just a very small world. Like no
Small.
matter how big the world is, it's a very small world. I'm in a group chat with a couple of brown guys on Book Talk, and turns out that two of them used to go to the same high school at different like around the same year. Like they maybe had never crossed paths or whatever. And one lives in New York. I don't know where the other one lives. I just saw it mentioned in the group chat, and I was like, the world is just really small.
Yeah.
When you end up meeting somebody online, and you're like, are we like, are we tight? Like, are we connected?
Yeah.
So that's my tangential story on how Maius ends up knowing everybody that I know, or I end up meeting somebody that also knows Maius, and here we are talking on a podcast because I was like, fuck it, I'm going to ask. Originally, I didn't want to ask. And I think I told you this, and I need to tell everybody this. I've had a problem with asking people to come on the podcast because I was like, oh, maybe they're busy, or I want to talk to you, but maybe you don't want to talk to me, and that's also fine. But I was like, should I ask? Should I not ask? Like, if I ask, she can say no, and if she says no, it won't be a problem.
All the shots you don't take, right?
That's what I'm saying, and I'd rather miss shots than see that thing hit an air ball or get rebounded and hit me back in the face. But that's the end of my rant. Over to you, Dr. Maius. Back to okay, MBA in med school.
Yes. So
that's so crazy awesome.
So Del Med is the med school I went to, and their program is designed where it's like 1 year preclinical. The second year is your clinicals, the core clinicals, and then your third year you do a longitudinal primary care elective while you do your master's, and you do something else. You can either do research, you can start a business, you can get your master's in biomedical sciences, education, business administration,
Mhm.
healthcare transformation. Like there's a lot
Mhm.
available like that you can do your third year. And then your fourth year, you do your electives, you do your away rotations, you start preparing your application for residency, and then you apply to residency, and then you match your last semester, and then you graduate.
Mhm.
So for me, I chose the MBA. I actually originally wanted to do the Master's in Healthcare Transformation one. But that
Mhm.
one, they only accepted 6 medical students and half our class applied. And I was like, well, I know I'll get in if I do if I apply for the MBA, but like, do I want
Mhm.
to risk not applying to one or like
Mhm.
waiting for one to answer versus um, just
Yeah.
knowing to and I was like, well, maybe I can do something with the MBA like after. It's like a nice,
Mhm.
I don't know, I guess a nice degree to have. But
For sure. If
yeah,
you ever want to start your own practice.
yeah. I did the MBA. I learned a lot. I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know. We'll see if I'll use it. We'll see.
Mhm.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. We'll see.
So it's integrated. It wasn't necessarily that
No,
you were doing
no, it
like
was a
4 years
it
of
was a
med
different
school
degree. It was a different. It was a
and
different
you were
degree.
like,
Oh,
okay,
oh, I mean like integrated like in the med
into
school.
your
Yes,
program. It
integrated
was
into the
not like,
program.
hey, I'm doing school
Yes.
and I'm just gonna go get an MBA off on the
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
like a little
No,
side
no, no,
hustle.
no.
Okay.
But I guess like and it was nice because like some of the classes or credits that we needed were some of them were like um it was like how do I say this? Stuff that we did in med school with the clinical stuff, it accounted for like the internship part that you had to do in your MBA. So I didn't have to like look for an internship.
Mm,
Basically, me and
nice.
my clinical my all my clinicals and stuff that was basically it is basically an internship. Um, but I guess the MBA was kind of long. Like I had to travel twice um, to finish up uh, like my credits. Otherwise, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't graduate. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but no, it was. I learned a lot. It was a good time. I met a lot of people, and yeah. And then my fourth year, I applied anesthesia and then matched at in Houston, and so
Mm-hmm.
now I'm back. I like did like a little tour. Started in Houston, went to Dallas, went to Austin, and then back to Houston. So
Mm-hmm. Are you from Houston?
I'm from Sugarland.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay. And you're planning to like work in Houston as well?
I don't know.
Not done yet. Cool.
I don't know
Cool.
yet.
Can't show too many of your cards. I
Yes,
get that. I
yeah,
get
yeah. I
that.
don't know yet.
Um, interesting. So I wanted to quickly go back to something you had said previously, before we move forward and ask. So you had said you don't know, you know, aside from the person that you are now, based on the choices that you've taken, if you hadn't done pre med, like you don't know like who you'd be or how you'd be or whatever it is. Would you do it again if you went back? Like, do you? I guess without trying to make it all like beating around the bush, do you like the person you are now to where you would do it all over again, or would you change?
No, yeah, I do. I definitely do. Yeah, I don't think I'd change anything. Um,
Good answer.
yeah, yeah, I don't think I'd change anything. Honestly, like, oh yeah, I didn't even finish. Okay, so yeah, so the girl in college had a chip on her shoulder. The girl in med
Yeah.
school, trying to reflect on who I was in med school. Um, I think I was coming out of my shell a bit more.
Mm,
Came out of my shell a bit more in med school, um, and started to really learn about the world through my friends and through like Del Med itself. Like I learned about like health equity and health justice, and really expanded myself in that way. Like, um, yeah, just being a lot more um, political, I guess, more
mm-hmm,
involved in like that space and like in the
mm-hmm,
community. And then I think COVID had a lot to do with it too, and the Black Lives Matter movement was during that time as well. Like I
mm-hmm,
started protesting then, and I started using my platform that I had to kind of like speak out on that movement, and I don't know if you remember, but um, uh, like Palestine became more not as like forefront news one in compared to 2022, I believe, but like in 2018, is it 2018? No. Is it 20? Wait, hold on. When did I graduate? Hold on. Oh my gosh, this is why I'm
2020
old. I graduated college
or
in
2019?
2019.
Yeah.
And then I graduated med school in 2023. And I started intern year 2024. It was 2020. No, it was 2023. Sorry. It wasn't as like forefront news as like October 2023, but like I think something
Mm-hmm.
happened during COVID as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, and I got more like involved in that, and then I started posting more like in the beginning of med school, but then I kind of fell off during COVID. There was just a lot going on, but I would just like
Mm-hmm.
still like post like and just I think I found my voice essentially. I think like during
Mm-hmm.
COVID there was like a boom in like med school medicine influencers, and at that point I was like like what do I have to offer that's unique when you have all these other people doing and saying like similar kind of things. And so
Mm-hmm.
I took a step back from like, oh, these are the tips. That this is like tips for MCAT or like tips for interviews.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
I kind of like fell that kind of fell back. And I also was just like busy with clinicals. I think like
Mm-hmm.
content creation is a lot of work. And so,
Yeah.
I just got caught up in other things. And I started posting more personal stuff on my Instagram. And then, yeah, so I think I like found myself more towards like the back end of med school. And then here in
Mm-hmm.
residency, my first 2 years, they were fun, but they were also, I was just, I think, like dysregulated from everything that was going on in the world, from
Mm-hmm.
working a lot in residency, and
Mm-hmm.
just for like, yeah, working a lot in residency when you have like such a steep learning curve and not a strong sense of self is a lot to is kind of a
Mm-hmm.
lot on a person's like nervous system, I think. And I think this past year was the first time, not the, well yeah, the first real time that I feel like I really grew up, like my frontal lobe developed, and I was like, okay, it's time for like a good character development arc. And I think this
Yeah.
past year um I became a lot more like present. Like I feel like I was living life on autopilot for the longest time, just because the road was so long and like it was just a lot. But I think this past year, I worked on myself a lot, like just
Mm-hmm.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and so when I say that like I wouldn't change anything now, like with the person I am now, like I really do mean that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you put a lot of work into it,
Yeah, and I
right?
yeah, and
Like,
I don't know any other way that this version of me would be possible had I not gone the route that I did. And I do love what I
mm-hmm.
do. Like I really do love anesthesia. And I'm happy that like that's something that I can do for work, like for for my career. But I also recognize how important it is for work to be just work and for you to have
Mm-hmm.
a life outside of work. So when you ask me like how do you like do residency and then have all this other stuff that you're doing after like outside of residency, and for me it's that because I try not to make residency my whole life, and it's
Mm-hmm.
and I recognize it's a privilege to say that because my program values like wellness a lot, like in terms of the hours compared to
Mm-hmm.
like other programs. But so it's like we don't work like crazy amount of hours. Like we still
Yeah.
work, pretty decently, but like I wouldn't say that I don't have time for myself, but I think also you
Mm-hmm.
just have to make the decision to make time for yourself, because if you don't
Yeah.
put in that intention, or that effort, it's very easy to just like rot on the couch because you're tired from work all day, which is valid, which is valid.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, I think humans were social creatures, and we need that like connection with our communities and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
The there's so much. I mean, I don't know if anybody else hears that. There's so much value, and I feel like what you've described, and not just like surface level value of like, um, here's how it is to be a resident or whatever it is, right? I think the whole thing you said about just now about us needing social interaction,
yeah,
and you're you're getting going for social interaction outside of work where you're social, quote unquote, but you're working with people, etc. But you're not really being social. um, when I used to live in Dallas. I was working there. My wife was in podiatry school in Cleveland, Ohio. Then her residency is here in Pennsylvania, and so we moved up here to Pennsylvania. And I told her, well, I told my job this when I started in 2020. I think it was like first month I was there. I was a call with a partner, and he was like, How are you? Like, tell me about yourself." I said, "This is me. I have a long term girlfriend. We're gonna get married, and she's gonna be a doctor, and she'll have residency." The first thing I said was, "I'm planning to move wherever she gets residency. So I want to let you guys know that right now. If that's going to be like a problem, hopefully we can resolve it. But if it's going to be like an issue of like me needing to be here, I would like to know beforehand." And
nice.
all that to say, we moved up here. And this was also like around the time when I kind of like closed off a little bit more from my friends in Dallas because I used to live in Dallas, and then I moved to the Carrollton suburb, which was away from like dance friends, and mainly my mainly only friends I would really hang out with were dance friends,
Yeah,
or maybe a couple of friends from college. And to your point, the dance community was the community that I really found like a lot of my current lifelong friends in,
yeah,
who are still with me to this day, and we still talk, and I still like rely on them for a lot. I stopped really hanging out with them starting in 2023 when I moved away, and I was like, okay, I need to go ham on content. I need time to film, edit, post, plan. I still got to do my 9 to 5. I still need to do like working out and all this stuff. So I really like receded back, but I still had a little bit of social interaction to where I was like, okay, cool, I'm fine. Moved up here, I've made zero friends here. I've made a big fat zero friends here, and it's not like I've tried and it just hasn't happened. I haven't tried because I was like, okay, cool. I got my friends online. We can talk on Discord. We can have phone calls. We can text. That's all I need, right? That's the that is the introvert's fallacy. I think I'm coining that right now, is the introvert's fallacy, where just because you recharge with alone time doesn't mean you're supposed to be alone all the time. And so I felt, to your point, like there was this distinct lack of social interaction that I had, um, over the past few years. Where the first year that I was here, I was completely depressed, not diagnosed depression, but I was just completely
yeah.
depressed, which sucks because it was the first year of my marriage too. Not a good time to be depressed, but it was because I just wasn't seeing anybody. I was working from home. I would wake up. I would stay inside. I would like do things in the morning, at home, work at home, after work, maybe go to the gym, come back, spend time with my wife, or edit on my computer, play games with friends on my computer, do everything online. I wouldn't see somebody in person. And I also have and had a very high level of social anxiety. So it didn't really help. But to your point, and this is me bringing it back to your point of like, I think last year, 2025, is when I really realized that like, as much as I'm introverted in terms of my energy, um, usage and things like that, and what fuels me and what drives me and what drains me, I need social interaction, in-person social interaction. Like that's one of the reasons why I'm telling my wife like maybe we should try and move back to Dallas and find a job there, because um, I just need physical social interaction. I think we need a level of social interaction physically. Like, don't just need, like, I can't come back from a 12-hour shift and maybe go out with friends, but you know, every month I could do a dinner with some people, or every week, or like once a week go rock climbing with the guys or things like. When I had that there, I was like, oh wow, this is awesome, and I didn't feel like stressed or tired or anxious or depressed or whatever it is. And as soon as I lost all that, I was like, oh, that's what it was. Right? It wasn't like my morning routine. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. It wasn't all these like um, surface level gimmicky things. It was, oh, you just aren't seeing people in person anymore because you think that you don't need to. And
Well,
so
have you started doing
that was
there?
no. Um, I have. I think it's just been once again a lot of just like grinding on this stuff. I did make it a point this year is to spend more time physically with people though. I just flew down to Texas for like literally 24 hours to see high school friends because we're all in the same place for once finally.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, everybody, y'all are already in Texas. Meet in Dallas. I'm flying down. And then it was just a good 24 hours, but it was really, really good 24 hours with people. And then in March, I might have to, like, coming up here in like a week and a half, I might have to fly down for work. And I'm already thinking, like, I kind of want to see this person. I kind of want to see that person. Like, try and make it a point to see people.
Yeah. How
Um,
long is your?
in terms,
How long is? Sorry to interrupt. How long is your wife's residency?
3 years.
And she's in
So
her.
she's in her second year. So it'll actually get over next summer.
So you have
Um,
another year then.
yeah, we have another year and a half now. So um, I'm aware of kind of, yeah, I do need this level of social interaction and trying to manifest it in different ways, whether it's going to see people like this or sometimes I'll go with my wife when she has like her work friends or like the colleagues at the hospital. They're all getting together. The residents are getting together for like a lunch, and they all bring the significant others. So I'm friends with all of those people, but it's like no friend that I've made here specifically myself, um, and I'm still not too like what's the word for it enthused about trying to do it,
Wow.
make my own friends here. I think a level of me is like the work that needs to be put in and the time that needs to be put in to make a new friend here or make new friends in general for me takes away from time that I'm spending in other places, knowing full well that the time spent there is very beneficial for my own mental health and my own like well-being. And also if I'm planning to move away, my brain still says like what's the point. And so that's mainly it. I'm like, I honestly don't know how to. Hands up, my hands are up. I don't know how to make friends, guys. I said it here. I said it here first. Like, I don't know how to make friends. Um,
Well, how'd you make friends in
so
Dallas?
I was forced into a dance class with people, or
You
I was
weren't
forced into
forced
a
into
classroom with people.
anything.
That's how.
You
Oh,
chose to do
hey,
it.
listen, that's fair. That's fair. That's a good point. You might keeping me honest,
Yeah,
but
and
um,
also, what's the point in anything? Nothing lasts forever. You know?
right,
I mean, like, so,
exactly.
like, what's the
Well, I
point
think
of like,
that's the
what's the point of like making a friend in Dallas then if you were gonna like, know that you're gonna move away someday to, you know what I mean?
well,
Like,
my thought was I was going to move back. So I was setting roots. I was planting
well,
seeds.
yeah, but I guess like,
But that's not true, though.
but
That's not true now
let's
because we
talk
don't
about the
know.
concept of you saying, since I know I'm gonna move back, what's the point? I think the point is like to experience life. That's it. You know, like
Right, right.
a year
Yeah.
is a long time. A year is a long time. Like a lot can change in a year. A lot can change in a year. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can have like who knows like what who knows what adventures are waiting out there like with new people that you haven't met yet, but you probably should meet if you made the effort to just I don't know, go take a dance class or something. You know what I mean? Do something you like, and then when you do something you
Yeah.
like, you meet other people who like the same thing. Boom, you already have like a like automatic, oh,
Right.
like you come to class every Wednesday, like okay, maybe I'll come, and then like
Mm-hmm.
hey dude, I'm actually taking class on Friday, like you want to come?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Oh hey, like let's go
Yeah.
get food after. And then like you know
Yeah.
what I mean, like it's
Mm-hmm.
it's totally up to you.
Yeah.
And I think what I learned this year, and I'm it sounds like I'm preaching, but like I think that like life, the point of life is just to be experienced, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to also talk about how like we get so caught up sometimes in like the purpose of our life. Like, what is the purpose of my life? Like, who am I meant to? What am I meant to do? And what mark am I supposed to like leave in this on this world? But like what I realize is like sometimes the point of life is just like when you're present, you know. Sometimes the point of your life right there is to like, you know, like open the door for this old lady to like walk through the door, or like
Mm-hmm.
maybe the point of your life like right now is just to connect with me, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the point of your life later is to like bring your wife a glass of water, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
you, these are the things that we these are the marks that we leave on each other, and that's really what we leave like on this earth, you know what I mean? Like no
Mm-hmm.
one's gonna remember my score on the MCAT, you know what I mean? Like I barely remember it, I don't
Yeah.
even remember it anymore, but like, you know, I remember how people made me feel, and like a year is a long time, like to not
Mm-hmm.
to rob yourself of like, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna be in or you're in Philly, you said?
Yeah, I'm around Philly.
Okay, yeah, you're not gonna be in Philly forever, you know, might as well see what's out there.
Yeah, I think that there's just those are just two such polar opposite takes because you're saying see what's out there, not going to be here forever, and I'm like I'm not going to be here forever. Why do I want to see why do I want to see what's out there? You know.
Yeah.
Um, I did start taking Taekwondo, so I've been going to
Nice.
classes. That's been fun. Um, and I think even having that twice a week right now has been really nice.
Yeah.
Of like seeing people.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that I'm like that we chat with and that I'm friendly with. It hasn't progressed to the point of let's go do something outside of it, but it's kind of nice just going somewhere and with people that I don't know,
Yeah.
just chatting and bantering. Um, you know, the thing you said about purpose, if you don't mind me sitting on this topic
Yeah.
for a little bit longer, real quick. Um, you know, when I meditate and I self-reflect and I think like a lot of the things that I'm doing now in some way only have a purpose because I'm giving them a purpose.
Right.
Like me wanting to talk about books online is only purposeful because I find it meaningful to do
Right.
versus it in itself being a meaningful thing. Um, and me wanting to make this podcast and talk to you is like it has purpose because I'm giving it
Yeah.
purpose. We are actually sitting here giving it
Right.
purpose. And I think there's a lot of times when I get quite frankly scared of that concept because okay, at some point what if I no longer really want to talk about
Mm-hmm.
books online?
Mm-hmm.
And all this time that I'd spent giving this thing
Mm-hmm.
purpose could the purpose could just disappear at the drop of a hat or whatever the term is or whatever the idiom is um, because I no longer have give it purpose. And so it's like I feel like I've been trying to force myself to only give purpose to very specific things so that they have a longer time
Yeah.
horizon instead of every little thing has purpose, but also therefore every little thing can be given and can be taken away
Yeah.
in terms of its purpose. And so I've been kind of working through that over the past few years. Is just like figuring out like really what are the things that give me that I want to give purpose
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Really, right? Like you know the idea of excuse me, the idea of you have so many friends growing up from like your adolescence to your teens um, to your young adulthood because you're just forced into being around so many people, and slowly over time it lessens and lessens and lessens into very specific like people that you keep into 80 years old.
Yeah.
And those are the people that have purpose because you've given those relationships purpose or they've given those relationships purpose, but they lessen over time. And so I think I kind of struggle with like,
Well,
what do I give purpose?
well, I guess when you talk about purpose, are you talking about like are you relating it also to the longevity of it too? I think that's
I think so
yeah.
because as fleeting as I know like our existences are to where like my purpose is really only as purposeful as I am here unless I leave something that then transcends my actual life here. My purpose is as long as I'm here. And so I want to live a life. I want to live a purposeful life. What I don't want to live is a life on autopilot where I have in the past where I kind of just like keep doing the same thing it feels like every day, and then I look up a year and a half later and I'm like, what happened? Like, what's been happening? Like, nothing's happened in my life. What am I doing, you know? And so that's why I want to I want to find something and do something that, like, every day it's like, oh, there's purpose here, there's purpose here, there's purpose here, and there's different types of purposes, like you said. Like, my purpose X amount of time later might be to be a father. My purpose X amount of time later might be to be a mentor. My purpose later might be to be a friend to somebody who's in need. But it's like, I I really have this thing and feeling inside of me of, like, growing up the way that I did. I think it kind of hit me. I was like, I didn't really like my adolescence or childhood. So I'm like, I'm trying to find and give myself a purpose now. Like, what am I here for? Like, what do I want to do? You know, I do look up to, in my opinion, some of the greats of our time, and knowing that I just don't have the personality to be a Alex Hormozy, to be a, not necessarily saying he's one of the, like, subjectively worst of our time, but objectively greatest of our time, Musk or a Bezos or like a Gates, like somebody who builds something that transcends their actual existence. I do want to, like, I guess I want to feel like what I'm doing matters,
Yeah.
beyond the purpose that I give it.
Mm.
And so I've been trying to find things and make things that I'm like, this thing has a purpose that's beyond me. So if I were to stop, it, like, it would affect me or people or the community, and not in like a, what's the word for it, narcissistic way, but like to know that something matters to somebody else out besides you. I think that's kind of what I'm looking for, is making something that matters to other people along with me. Therefore there's a shared purpose there as well. And in that way the purpose transcends me. um,
Do you?
that was a really long
No, no.
tangent after.
Do
Yeah.
you? It's all like a therapist question.
Shit, go ahead, bring it on.
Do you feel like you? How do I say this? Do you feel like the term valuable only if you do something for others outside of you?
Hmm. Hmm. Um, yes and no. I think I do see things very utilitarian, transactional in many ways. And so if I'm not doing something that is in some way improving my life or somebody else's, I don't see the most value in it. Um, but I think that value looks differently. Um, to have the most superficial form of it, if I make a video and it gets 100 views, I don't see a value in that, versus if I make a video and it gets 1,000 views. That's never happened, but that's like a value thing in my head. Or if I'm, um, you know, if I can spend an hour reading versus an hour rotting on my bed watching YouTube videos, there's a different level of value there in both of those things. Sometimes I want to read. Sometimes I want to just sit on my bed and watch the YouTube video. But sometimes I do one and I want to do the other. And I feel like, oh, that time wasn't valuable because I spent it the wrong way. I always feel like, I do feel like there's a value in something, and there's a value in everything. Most of the time, I think I deem value in how it, like, affects me or others, not just like in its existence,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, that makes sense. I guess
Um,
I mean, when you told me that, like, so here's the thing. Do you tend to do things out of fear for what might happen or what it might mean for you if you don't do something? Does that make sense?
oh, that's a really good question. Yes, I think a lot of, oh, I mean, because over time I've, like, definitely, like, I'm one of the people who, I'm the type of person who procrastinates. And so, like, my action is not, like, internal outward, or internally motivated. It is externally motivated by a deadline or a consequence of not doing the thing. Therefore, I do the thing. Like I work out to be not to be healthy, but to not get sick or to not get injured. I um, loose thing, but like not saying I do this specifically, but this is the first one that came to mind. If I was like, if me and my wife talk about something and it's like, okay, cool, well, I need you to do this week because I'm going to be really busy at work. I do the thing not necessarily because I want her to be happy. It's because I don't want her to be upset about having to do the thing and she's already like tired from work.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it's very like externally motivated actions versus internally motivated actions.
Does it feel good to live that way?
No, but it's a slow process in changing it, which is kind of what's been happening. Like every year, it's been like little actions of what do I change this year to get away from that. And I think um, the beginning of this year has been pretty heavy in terms of like action upon action upon action, internally motivated, internally motivated, internally motivated. Eventually, that motivation dies to then where it becomes just this is something I got to do until like a little bit until motivation comes back in the tank. But no, I mean I agree with you. It doesn't feel good to behave in accordance to like external factors.
Yeah. And you know, it's not, and it's not just you. I think it's something that like we collectively as a human species, like I think that's like one of the earliest wiring into society that we get
Mm-hmm.
is like we are instilled shame, you know, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, fear based like actions, right? We do things to
Mm-hmm.
other, like we do things for other reasons other than that we do it out of love or like an internal, yeah, like sense of motivation or purpose, you know, if that makes sense. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think that like that expands a lot as we grow up into adults, and then we get stuck in like rooms or choices that maybe doesn't even feel like good for us or like that work, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then we live our lives kind
Yeah.
of just like subconsciously regretting some of the decisions that we make just because like we thought it's what other people expected us to do.
Mm-hmm.
um but no, I just wanted to, I don't know, just wanted to bring that up. I guess I think we're not
Yeah.
really, a lot of us aren't taught to trust ourselves that if something changes or something goes to shit that we'll be okay, you know. It's more of like,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it so that you don't like your life doesn't turn into shit, you know. But it's like your life does
Mm-hmm.
turn into shit, like no one tells us, hey, like you can actually trust yourself to getting through this and like, you know, pivoting or like, you know, say like this. So they say god forbid something happens and I'm not able to do residency anymore, you know, I get
Mm-hmm.
injured, I get sick, whatever. And does that mean that the 12 plus years of training has been purposeless? Like, no, I've helped a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people along the way, but now I just can't do that anymore. Like, that's not what life has handed to me anymore. But like, I trust myself enough to be able to figure it out and like pivot, right? And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to do it alone. Like, I have my community to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like I wanted to bring that up as like we should all kind of like be nicer to ourselves, be kinder to ourselves in our
Mm-hmm.
heads, you know, make it a nice place to live, and do things out of our own devotion to it, not because
Mm-hmm.
of not because of like this external like shame on you if you don't do it,
Mm-hmm.
like you're worthless and like you're a piece of shit. Your mom's
Yeah.
gonna break her
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. No, you know, I do appreciate you bringing that up because it's not. It has. It's. as much as I've tried to think about this in many different frames, that's just a frame that I had never thought about. I just didn't never put it in that frame. Um, and I definitely know that when I go back and edit this, I'm gonna like re-listen to this part. I'm gonna feel this exact same feeling that I'm feeling over again of like just utter confusion at the information coming in and my body processing it. Um, Interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Before we even like I don't want to move on before saying thank you for that. I'm very grateful for this conversation already.
Oh.
I was from the beginning, but I'm very grateful for this conversation now. um, I wouldn't have had this.
What is it? Can you describe to me what you're feeling or thinking? Like,
It's
I'm sure you have more
well,
reflections on this later, but like, what are your
yeah,
initial feelings? Like, where do you feel
well,
it in your body, like
yeah,
somatically?
yeah, yeah. And this is an exercise I've been doing for a while now since starting therapy. And so, like, anytime I have feelings, I try and analyze it physically, and then
Yes.
I go deeper. But I know that most of my markers that deal with either discomfort or new information or processing information that I'm not readily able to accept or approve or validate, it manifests as heat
Hmm.
in my body. If it's anxiety, it manifests as heat usually in my face and chest, and then it goes outward to where either I start sweating or your boy has seborrheic dermatitis, gang, let's go. And so I start like itching over my face or
Oh.
my scalp or whatever it is. Right now, it's a level of like moderate heat,
Hmm.
and it's actually manifesting in voice quivers and um, kind of slowed down thinking. Right now, usually I'd be thinking a mile a minute, what to say next, where to go next, what to talk about next, all this stuff. And I'm kind of like really sitting with that information. Um, in terms of a little bit deeper, emotionally, really no change. I think it is because we're talking here that it hasn't been really, really like I'm still feeling a bit more professional here, but there is still a level of um, I just received information that I think is so aggressively important to retain that my body and brain is doing whatever it can to retain the feeling, the thoughts, and the information as like clearly as possible. So I don't have to go back to this like call and like listen to it. I can like bring it up from memory and feeling
Hmm.
again. That's the second one. The third one is really just knowing that regardless of whoever's right or wrong, my inclination is to want to believe what you're saying, move my thought process to how you're saying it,
Hmm.
and kind of wanting to believe in the optimism and uh, the everything has a purpose and nothing is ever purposeless as long as we give it purpose and living life internally motivated, intrinsically motivated, and every day you wake up ready to do the thing. I want to believe that, and I want to um, behave like that and manifest that. And I think um, I'm cautious too. I think because what that to me that brings a level of not irresponsibility, but a level of frivolousness that I think I'd have to work to balance with with like doing the thing for like responsibility's sake.
Right.
Part of what we talked about earlier of me opening up and just wanting to talk to people, I get really frivolous when I talk to people. Sometimes I'll just say shit or like about myself. I'm a very open book, so I'll make not self-deprecating jokes, but I'll make jokes about my mental health or my state of being or like things that I've gone through in the past. And not even jokes, I'll just talk about them. I have no issues talking about here's what I faced in the past, here's what I've come through, here's what I think. And then I've run into situations where it's like, oh, I don't think that was a thing to say in that situation or whatever it is from other people. And then I'm like, oh fuck, I'm too, and then I get socially anxious again, reanalyze everything that I say down to um, the filler, the speed, the pitch, the pace of everything. I microanalyze everything, and then I don't. So I think um, what I like to approach everything with a level of enthusiasm and kind of uh, like go gettedness. Yes. Um, do I always have to like approach any of these mindset changes with a little bit of caution? Also, yes, because if I'm a side each different side of the spectrum. I can't do anything in moderation. That's just the kind of personality that I have. I'm a binge eater. I'm a binge TV watcher. I'm a gets obsessed with one thing, sprints, does it. I need like X time to rest, and then I'm back in sprinting. I can read 13 books in 13 days, and I can stop reading for 20 days. That kind of stuff, right? Like I'm very all or nothing, and so I have to be careful in adopting certain mindset shifts, because if it's all or nothing and it changes my behaviors, those behaviors also impact other people and things around me. That's the third thing, based on like what you were talking about, is like I'm very slow to think like how what would that look in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and that involves practice, like thinking about it later, like what would this look like in my life.
Yeah.
And then reminding yourself that every day, like what would this look in your life today? It might be different than yesterday, it might be different than tomorrow, but what would it look in your life today? Would it be going to taekwondo this evening and seeing somebody and saying, yo, do you want to meet up before this exam we have coming up for the new belt in March? Should we meet up and like practice our poomsays and our kicks and stuff like that? Like that would be different than what I would ever do, because I wouldn't be the one to initiate that conversation usually. Or, you know, recently I've been trying to be more open with asking people to come on the podcast. My cousin is the one who told me like you need to let yourself know that people want to talk to you, and don't be afraid to ask people to come and talk to you. People want to talk to me, so let me invite them to come talk to me, instead of like asking them, will you, kind of as like a question to be rejected. Invite them, like come talk to me, the kind of thing, right? Like being open with doing that. There's a level of like action in there that I previously didn't have. I was running life on autopilot for a lot of last year in certain ways. But to pause that there, to end that train of thought there, that's what I was been feeling as you were talking.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. I'm sorry that this is a conversation. I know this is supposed to be a conversation between the two of us, but I feel like I've been talking more than you, and I don't
This
necessarily
is the
want
curiosity I was
to.
talking about.
I know. I think that's the hard part about being the host, is wanting to share and have a back and forth to where this feels meaningful for the both of
I feel
us,
like it has been.
versus me just asking and being in an interview.
Yeah.
No, I love this. I love this. Like I think we talk about these things offline, and we were talking about them online. Like that's just how it would feel. I want to pivot slightly back to you as a subject, and I wanted to ask you, and this might be a little bit more back to the professional side of things, but I do have this question that I think a lot of people also have, is for people who are thinking about going into your field or the medical field or a career in medicine, are there any things that you'd want to say to them, whether it's cautionary tales, optimistic tales, whatever it is? Like, are there things that, like, what would you tell somebody who wants to get into this field or this career path, as laid out as it is? Like you said, there is a level of uncertainty of being selected and matched, right? So like, what are things that you can tell people about this field that they maybe didn't know going in or wouldn't know going in?
A lot of hidden costs, a lot of tests that like I did not even think about that I would have to take and pay coming into medicine. It's sort of like it's a small world. It's kind of like a little bit like high school all over again. A little bit, just because it's just such a small world. Like everyone knows everyone in medicine, pretty much. Um, and then I would say, it's rewarding if you go into it for the right reasons. But even if you go into it for the right reasons, the system I think is still needs a lot of work. And the only way we can progress is if you stay true to yourself, honestly. Like, like I think it's easy to, like I said earlier, get caught up in what and others' expectations of you. And it's easy when you're in this for so long that when you like hide yourself, right? Like you, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to piss off any attending. You don't want to rub anyone the wrong way because you're trying to get in everyone's good graces so you can like move forward, so that you can be an attending or whatever. But like, I think that mindset can be a slippery slope when you start to base your worth off of like your accomplishments or your serviceness to others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to, and when once you kind of go down that road, it's easy to lose yourself, like, and not even recognize yourself anymore. um and like, I, for speaking personally, I think that I, to some at some point, because it's so, a lot of it's just like really hard mentally, like you just dissociate,
Mm-hmm.
like you become, you turn life into an autopilot. You're just trying to get through the day, just trying to get through the day. And like you
Mm-hmm.
kind of forget, you just kind of get, a lot of doctors are jaded, because of
Yeah.
that. There's a lot of like emotional currency and baggage that like you have to carry, and it's not always a safe space to like to try and make changes, because change is slow. But I think that the more people are authentic to themselves and what they know what feels right in their body versus not, together we can break a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
barriers, and kind of evolve, like kind of, evolve the work on evolving the field more. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like from before, people had to, like, not even that long ago, residents were staying in the hospital for 72-hour shifts. Like that's why we're called
Yeah.
residents, because we live there.
Mm-hmm.
um and now we're like, down to 80-hour weeks, allegedly, and
Yeah.
24-hour calls. But even then, nobody should have to stay up for 24 hours to take care of like a human being and have them
Mm-hmm.
be like, rely on you for their life. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy. But here it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
when you talk to like some older attendants, you're like, well, back in my day, blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, and like that sucked for you, and you probably lost, like,
Mm-hmm.
like so much of your like life just having to deal with that.
Yeah.
And empathy also, like, right. And so I would say take care of yourself, like really
Mm-hmm.
really take care of yourself, and get a therapist, get a good therapist, get a good therapist.
Shout out.
Yep.
Shout out.
Yep.
Big proponent. I used to not want therapy. The day that my sister told me I think you need therapy, I was like, fuck no.
Everyone
And
needs
then
it. Everybody needs it.
fast forward to 2024, I was like, this was
Everybody
necessary.
needs one.
I agree with you. I do agree with you. I also like keeping at the same thing that you, and there were quite a few things that you said that I wanted to touch on, but I wanted to say this real quick. I do feel really rough for residents and people in the medical field who their entire life goes to their career to where they can't even, they might not, I know some people who don't even feel comfortable trying to go to the doctor because they're like, I don't have time. I
Mm-hmm.
work all day. I can't take off. I'm a resident, right? Like I'm in this rotation, and the doctor here, we don't take off when we're at his rotation or whatever it is, right? Or like I can't do therapy. My days are too sporadic. My schedule's too sporadic, and it's like that's just tough.
Yeah.
There's such a massive mental burden on. Hey, I gotta make this work because I put so much time and energy and money into making this
Yep.
work. Um, And if I don't make it work, it's going to be more time and energy and money to make it work. And that's just,
And again,
the field is tough.
that's like living in fear, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
living in terms of doing something out of fear for if you don't do it, versus like you being
Yeah.
able to do it because you love
Mm-hmm.
medicine, that the
Yeah.
system makes it hard. um
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
That would be. That would be interesting. I
But like
also wanted,
you'd rather have doctors who do it for the love of it, not because now they're miserable. They
yeah,
can't. They already spent so much of their life doing it, and they're
yeah,
like, not
I get
empathetic.
scared. Yeah, I agree with you. I was joking with my wife when she like was doing this medical stuff. I was like, when we have a kid, I'm not pushing them to the medical route. If they want to, we'll entertain it. But I was like, as far as I can help it, I'm putting a sports ball in front of them. I'm putting a dollar sign in front of them, and I might be putting something else in front of them when they're a baby to see what they gravitate towards. But that's not going to be a syringe. It's going to be something else. Because I'm like, I just can't. I think it would be tough for me to see just as fast forward like 20, 30 years in the future. Like, I think it'd be so tough for me to see my child going through what like I usually goes through with work and residency stuff like that, and like the stress and the anxiety and how the high level of work. I'd be like, bro, just go to accounting. It's so much easier. Just go do this. It's so much easier. Um, but when you have a passion for it, it makes it easier to do it. When you don't have a passion for it, but you're pushed into it, that makes it tough. That makes it tough for sure.
Yeah.
Um, wow, Maius, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate this a lot. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you so much
Thanks for
for
having me.
for talking with me. Of course, and next time we do this, it's gonna be in person, so we have no technical issues that
Yes.
whatsoever that could be with software. And before I let you go, I have two questions for you, final
Yeah.
questions for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
The first thing is, if people do want to keep up with what you're doing, where can they find you?
At my medical muse on Instagram.
Lovely.
MAIMEDICALMUSE.
Lovely. Go follow her for everything Dr. Maius. And the last thing is, I ask everybody who's come on the podcast for the first time, I ask them this question. It's an intentionally vague question, but if there's anything you'd want to tell somebody today, if there's one piece of advice you could give somebody today, what would it be?
One piece of advice. Um, this is gonna this is the only thing that's popping up in my head, and it's so cliche. And people, half of y'all are gonna roll your eyes, and half of you gonna be like, "That's what I'm fucking talking about." I would say love is always the answer, you guys. It's always the answer. Love for yourself, love for the world, love for each other. Like, honestly, like, and in the true meaning of love, too. Like, like that deep sense of, like, wow, like, I really love the person I am. And because I have so much love, I would love to give it to my family, like my friends, and like also just like strangers and just like the world collectively. I feel like everything is so crazy nowadays, and there's so many people trying to divide us, and there's a lot of things that can divide us, but and people suffer because of fear, and
Mm-hmm.
but truly, truly, the only thing that can overcome all of that is love for each other, as just like, and just, yeah, just for the world. And that's such a broad thing to say, but I feel like it's necessary to remind each other of that. Only good things can happen from love, only good things can
Mm-hmm.
happen from love. And not love is not to be like confused with infatuation or obsession or passion or whatever, but like love truly, and it's the like the truest sense of the world, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
something that we all should cultivate for ourselves and practice, so yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you once again, Maius. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.